2 years ago, my wife left me and our children at the worst time of my life. After going through a period of bitter struggle and managing to restore our family as best we could, I saw her again. It was in a cafe, where she was sitting alone, her face covered in tears. What she said next completely shocked me. When Anna left our apartment that day, she had only one suitcase in her hands. His cold gaze and simple, "I can't do this anymore," sounded like a clap of thunder. I stood there, holding our 4-year-old twins Max and Lily, completely confused. In that moment, everything fell apart. My self-esteem was shattered, but my heart was even stronger. She didn't even look at me one last time. She was gone, as if we had never existed, as if the last 10 years of our lives had been just a dream. It was as if a switch had suddenly flipped. One moment we were a united family, and the next I was left alone with 2 children and a mountain of responsibilities to deal with. It all happened because I lost my job. We lived in one of the most expensive cities in the country, and the slightest financial setback could be fatal. I was a software engineer at a promising tech company, but internal crime led to its bankruptcy. In a matter of days, I went from earning a 6-figure salary to collecting unemployment. The day I broke the news to Anna, I saw the disappointment in her eyes. She hadn't said anything offensive at the time, but her silence spoke volumes. She, such an ambitious, well-organized woman, clearly couldn't come to terms with this new reality. Anna was an impeccable marketing specialist. Even after difficult nights, not a single hair was out of place, not a single wrinkle in his clothes. I admired him for that. But I never thought that she would leave me when the going got tough. The first year after he left was hell. Between the unbearable loneliness, the worry that we wouldn't be able to provide for ourselves, and the exhaustion of juggling work and childcare, I felt like I was drowning. I worked nights at a rideshare service and made deliveries during the day, all while trying to meet Max and Lily's emotional needs. The children were desperate. They kept asking where their mother was. I tried to explain the situation to 2 4-year-olds as best I could, but how could they understand? "Mom was gone for a while," I told them. But even I didn't know if she would ever return. Luckily, my parents lived nearby and helped me as much as they could. They took care of the twins when I worked late, but they couldn't help me financially. Already retired, they were struggling to cope with the rising cost of living. Despite everything, Max and Lily were the meaning of my life. Their innocence, their unconditional love gave me the strength to continue. Every hug, every "We love you, Daddy," reminded me why I couldn't give up. They deserved at least one parent who would give up everything for them. The second year after he left was different. Totally different. I got a freelance programming gig, and to my surprise, the client was so happy with my work that he offered me a full-time position at his cybersecurity company. The pay wasn't 6 figures, but it was enough to keep us breathing. Thanks to my new job, I was able to move into a warmer apartment, more conducive to our new life. I started taking care of myself again. I went back to the gym, learned how to cook real food, and established a routine for the kids. We weren't just surviving anymore, we were finally thriving. It was then, exactly 2 years after Anna's departure, that our paths crossed again. I was sitting in a cafe near our new neighborhood, working on my laptop while Max and Lily were at daycare. The place was busy but calm, with the soothing aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. And there, looking up, I saw her. Anna sat alone at a table in the corner of the cafe. Her head was down, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. She looked nothing like the woman I knew. Her once elegant clothes looked shabby. Her once impeccable hair was dull and unkempt. Dark circles under her eyes spoke of sleepless nights and despair. For a moment my heart sank. This was the woman who had abandoned us, who had chosen to run rather than stay and fight with us. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of compassion. Here is the rest of the story in French. I looked at her and all at once I was overcome with a multitude of emotions. I knew I should ignore him, go back to my desk and continue working. But I knew very well that, no matter what, she was the mother of my children, and that thought troubled me. She must have felt my gaze because she slowly looked up. Our eyes met, and the shock on his face turned to shame. I could have stayed there, frozen, content to watch him from afar. But before I could think about it, my body stood up. I left my cup and laptop on the table and walked towards her, towards the one who had destroyed our home. I sat down without waiting for her to speak. "Anna," I said, my voice calm but bewildered. "What happened?" His eyes searched desperately for salvation, but there was none. She whispered barely audibly, "David, I didn't expect to see you here." "Apparently," I replied, pulling out the chair opposite her. "You abandoned us. You left without any remorse. And here I am, 2 years later, crying in a cafe. What's going on?" She looked down, her fingers clenching, her nails white from the pressure. "I made a mistake," she finally whispered, as if finally admitting the damning truth. I paused for a moment before answering, crossing my arms over my chest. "Mistake? Do you think it was a mistake to leave my husband and children?" She shook her head violently, her eyes filling with tears. No, I know it wasn't just a mistake. But I thought I could do better on my own. It was too hard, the bills, not knowing how to survive. There wasn't enough money for the life we were leading." I nodded in understanding. "I know," she continued, as if finally freed from her chains. "I thought I could find a more fulfilling life, a better career, a better future. I don't even know exactly what I was looking for." I interrupted him gently. "Maybe he's gotten better?" She blushed, but quickly shook her head. No. I can't explain it, but leaving you felt so wrong. I lost my job almost immediately after that. I survived on my savings, but within a few months my parents disowned me. And the people I thought were my friends disappeared when I needed them most." She burst into tears, and I stood there, a little upset. I had a strange sense of accomplishment, as if karma had struck quickly, but also a sense of pity. Why hadn't she believed in us? Why hadn't she given me a chance to prove to her that we could weather this storm together and emerge stronger? "I miss you," she said, her voice breaking with sobs. "I want to go back." It felt like time had stopped for a moment. His words hung in the air, and I let them echo in my head. I knew exactly why she said it. Why now? Why after all this time? "I miss you now that you have nothing," I replied in a calm voice. "It's a coincidence, right?" Anna extended an open palm across the table, as if trying to reach for something I had dropped. "David, please. I know I don't deserve this, but I'll do anything to right my wrongs. I lived in cheap apartments, got by on odd jobs. I had time to think. Now I realize how much I've lost." I pulled my hand back. "You haven't thought about Max and Lily, have you?" "Not once in 2 years. Besides, you haven't even mentioned them since I went to prison." She tensed, as if I'd punched her in the heart. "I thought about them, too," she whispered, her voice thick with shame. "I was just ashamed. I didn't know how to go back." I shook my head. "You made your choice, Anna. We built a life without you. And it's a good life. The kids are happy. And so am I," she repeated almost desperately. "I will do anything. Please, David, give me a chance." I stood up, my eyes full of determination. "No," I said firmly. "You made up your mind. Despite everything you've been through, I can see you haven't thought. You only care about yourself. My children need someone who will put them first." I gathered my things, grabbed my laptop, and headed for the exit. The bell above the door rang loudly as I passed, but Anna's sobs still echoed in my head, following me all the way to the door. That night at dinner I felt stronger than ever. Max told me a story about a worm he found at school, and Lily proudly showed me a picture she had drawn. "Daddy, look! That's us in the park," Lily said, handing me the drawing. I smiled, touched. "That's wonderful, my dear." Anna gave up everything and ended up with nothing left. That night, after I put the kids to bed and went back to my room, I thought about what it would be like to walk away like that, to leave their mother. Part of me knew that maybe if she was ever honest, I would let her see them. But only if I saw real change in her. Right now, I needed to protect them. The children, despite their young age, understood more than one might think. But they were resilient because they knew there would always be someone who loved them. And that was all that mattered. I saw it in their smiles, in their natural affection. Our chapter with Anna was closed. But life can take unexpected turns. I was focused on creating the loving, safe home my children deserved. And I waited, and my heart found peace.